Welcome back to Tear Me Under the Hood VS Next, where we continue configuring the VS Next environment only through CLI command line interface this time. We start with checking the status of our VS Next environment by typing vsx stat-v in expert mode. This table shows the ID of each system, its type, name, number of IPv4 or IPv6 instances, which policy is currently installed and when, threat prevention policy, and whether SIG communication was established with a management server. You can see the state you would expect straight after running the first time visit. The virtual system is set up, VS0, with its management virtual switch, and SIG not yet established with management. To see the interfaces, run the ifconfig command. You can see the VS0 interfaces and the similarity to ElasticXL's interface convention. That means that we have bond, slave, and sync interfaces. In addition, there is a warp interface representing a virtual link with its ID. Before we continue, it is important to remember, especially if you are in a more advanced stage of configuring your system and have more than one virtual system set up, that you can't do any environment-related changes unless you are in VS0. If you had changed to another VS or vSwitch, you won't be able to use the create-delete functions, assign interface commands, and more. VS0 is needed for any environmental management purposes. We are ready now to dive deeper into the VS Next system configuration on CLI. So let's start with creating a VS with an automatic name designation. For creation or deletion in VS Next, we must exit expert mode and use the gclish shell. Therefore, let's first change to gclish, as you can see on the screen, by typing the following command: gclish or exit, if you are in expert mode. In gclish, we type add VS Next and press tab. This will return three options: add virtual gateway, virtual link, or virtual switch. Let's see how it works. To add a virtual system, we need to run the following command. Type add VS Next virtual-gateway interfaces ETH3 and the ID. The ID convention is the same as we came across in the web UI. It will be automatically assigned unless we set it manually. For now, we will leave it to be automatically assigned and continue to the third option. Type add VS Next virtual-gateway interfaces ETH3 ID auto one-time password. The one-time password is the SIG password that we will use for the first-time connection with a management server. Next, we need to determine the number of core assignment of IPv4 and IPv6 instances. So type add VS Next virtual-gateway interfaces ETH3 ID auto one-time password instance 1 instance 6 0. The last choice we have is between true and false. So type add VS Next virtual-gateway instances ETH3 ID auto one-time password instance 1 instance 6 0. Wait for task true or false, where true will display the progress of the task in real time, while false will hide the progress. Let's choose true so we can see how it looks in the CLI and compare it to the task table in the web UI. As you can see on the screen now, the progress of creating the VS is in both views. Note the initiator column in the web UI view, which records the fact that an admin had initiated the process of creating in gclish. The VS creation process is complete, and we can see the new virtual gateway with the automatically assigned ID1 and its interfaces, ETH3 and Warp64, that is the vlink to the management switch for management traffic. Now, let's repeat this process, but this time choose to set the VS ID manually and skip the real-time task progress display. So, since we used ETH3 for VS1, we will go ahead with ETH4, and if we don't choose Auto in the ID option, we get to decide what ID to set. In this case, as we did in the previous episode, we choose 10 to be the new VS's ID and false at the end to skip the live display of progress. For better clarity, you can switch again to the web UI where the task table is always there recording our progress. You can see that there's a new VS with ID 10 being created, linked to interface ETH4 and Warp 60, that is the V-link to the management switch. The next step after creating a virtual system is to create a virtual switch for connectivity. To add a virtual switch, run the following command. Add vsnext virtual-switch and the name. You can enter any name after the word switch. The vSwitch ID works the same way that a VS ID works. So after typing this command, add vsnext virtual-switch, the name, ID, choose Auto or insert a unique number. In this case, we will proceed with Auto. The next option will determine whether task progress is displayed or not. Let's go with True. So we will see the progress as displayed in the CLI window. Type add vsnext virtual-switch, the name, ID Auto, wait for task. After executing the command, we will once more open the web UI for its task table and see it running there as well. The vSwitch has been created and got the ID too, initiated by admin through CLI. This is the end of the first part of this episode. We will continue with the CLI configuration in the second part.